Welcome back. I'm Marlene Champlin, sidekick to our host, Ed Parcaut, here at Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV, where we always give you something to chew on. If you've got questions for Ed, just dial 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915, or visit lendingforliving.com. And now, without further ado, please welcome our guest, Eugene Kilbride, candidate for Congress District 10. Hi, Eugene.
Hi, nice to meet you, and thanks for having me on.
Hey, Eugene, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. It's finally nice to get to meet you. The one thing about our show, we have a very limited amount of time to ask you a lot of questions, so we're going to get right into it. But first, before we get there, so your family's kind of like my family. The dad was in the Navy and the son's in the Army.
Exactly. I couldn't follow directly in the footsteps, but we are a military family, so service was big in our household. And around high school is when 9/11 happened. We were all playing football, and we all felt the need for service after that.
Wow, you're a machine gunner too, huh?
Yeah, I was 240 Bravo gunner, which is the belt fed. I joined the infantry. My whole motto in life is, all or nothing. So I decided to join the Army, the infantry, with the thought of service abroad.
Wow. What did your dad do in the Navy?
So he had several different roles. He was lifelong. He was in the Navy for 26 years. He started out as I think it's ABFC. He was gasoline fuel supply, and he did fire fighting out at Crow's Landing Air Force Base, just south of Patterson. He wore a lot of different hats.
Okay. How was I do a local a podcast called Helping the Brave, where we talk about people transitioning out of the military once you take the uniform off through life and how to get involved. How was your transitioning out of the service?
So I think my transition from service was like a lot of guys that had combat experience. It was rocky. At first it was difficult to transition to civilian life after having a combat tour and being in that type of service. Coming back to the civilian world took some adjusting.
Yeah, we had Captain Charlie Plum on the Helping the Brave. I don't know if you know who he was. He was shot down after his 74th sortie during Vietnam. I was in the prison camp with McCain, and he talks about that and talks about how back then everybody thought that when they were coming back that they were going to have to be institutionalized, and come to find out they were the most normal people after being in there. The people who had the problem were only there for the last 45 days. And they say a lot of the problems is we get back home so fast that we don't have time to get through those processes of what we were yesterday, where we are today. Right. They talk about some of the Navy SEALs who were out shooting somebody yesterday, and now they're in bed with their wife tonight. Right.
And I agree with that. I don't think the armed services, do the best at that quick transition. I had the same experience, being Black Hawk out of Baghdad. And then, a few days later, I was back home in the civilian world, kind of awestruck at the juxtaposition between the Middle East and the United States. It's a lot to take in sensory-wide, emotionally, and just, you need that time to adjust. So I know I completely agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, before they'd have ships home, right? They'd take days, months, to get home, where now it's like 24 hours. So where did you have to go through rehab or anything when you got back? Did you have any issues?
So I did, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, but this was, a few years after I'd gotten home. I was self-treating with alcohol. I was, doing risky behaviors, getting into a lot of bar fights, getting into, those adrenaline type behaviors that I was used to in the Middle East. It's constant, you're constantly on guard. You're constantly aware of your, situational awareness. And then when you come home, there's this feeling that just doesn't subside. It takes a long time. So I had to learn those tools. And through the VA, I reached out and participated in several programs, group therapy, individual therapy, and really got treatment for the root issue. And that was, combat stress.
Sorry, I was listening. We're talking to Eugene Rubio Kilbride, congressional candidate for District 10. And you can reach out and support Eugene by visiting kilbrideforcongress.polyengine.com. It's kind of one of those political sites for candidates. If you've got questions for Ed, you can reach out by dialing 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915, and at lendingforliving.com. You can also email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. So we're still talking about you did do a lot with PTSD. You got involved with the VA. Eugene, that's part of why you're running. So talk about when you then you decided to get into law. You're an attorney.
I am. Yeah.
You're highly educated, dude.
Yeah, but it didn't start out that way. My journey with rehabilitation at the VA led me to education. So I learned about a program called vocational rehabilitation through the VA. And at first, I started out at Modesto Junior College, and I was just trying to acquire a trade or a skill besides, being a gunner. So what I did was I really soaked in that process. For me, that was also therapeutic, was going to school. I never thought that was going to be my path in life. I wanted to provide for my family and, be a good community member. But through that experience, it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes to what I was, what my potential could be. And so at JC, I was doing well. And then I ended up applying to the University of Pacific in Stockton. And, I just applied, didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And a few weeks later, I got a letter saying that I was accepted. And it was a really, really great moment in my life.
I have a question. What law do you practice? All law, or you have a specialty?
So actually, I did a little bit of, I did a 14-month clerkship with the Board of Veterans Appeals, doing veterans disability compensation and pension. So writing for a judge, clerking for a judge, writing decisions in regards to combat related or just service related injuries. So that was a really great experience as well. Right now, I'm doing a disability related law, but I have aspirations of opening my own firm and running for Congress. So,
and then you can be there for veterans in Congress.
That's my main goal, is to serve the community, serve the veteran community, serve our district, the way that I think everyone should be. I think, no disrespect to Josh Harder, but I don't think he represents the area.
No. We can disrespect him. That's our job. We have nothing. I just don't like the pictures. I don't like the pictures who show like he's on the farm. He's been there. It's like, dude, don't even know where that is. Yeah.
He's not a farmer. He's a hedge fund manager out of the Bay Area. Let's all be real.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. And I think my story strikes true with a lot of people in this area. We have a high rate of service. We are God family country, and I think that is going to have a truer impact and a real representation of what our representative in the House should be.
Right. I saw the perfect picture the other day where it showed Democratic people who vote for Democrats. They're all in the slums, and then it has a huge wall with barbed wire in the middle, and on the other side it shows the actual Democrats who are in Congress and how they have the lush houses with the pools and everything, and that's the huge difference.
More than one house.
Yeah, I know. The big difference between the two is the fact that one says they're for the people and the other one is for the people. And so I don't want to, I just think everybody should be for both. So
no, I agree. And, I saw that firsthand in Marin County. This is the wealthiest nation, or the wealthiest county in the United States, when I was going to law school at the University of San Francisco, Jesuit Catholic Law School. And I was living in Marin County, and I just couldn't believe the hypocrisy of the people being so wealthy, yet their values and their morals not aligning from what is coming out of their mouth. They don't have to live with homeless and crime and rampant illegal immigration. They're walled off. They're in a private community that is separated by a peninsula, that they don't have to deal with everyday issues. And that was the biggest hypocrisy that I saw.
This is Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. I'm Marlene Champlin, trusty sidekick to our host, the amazing Ed Parcaut, MBA veteran, mortgage guru, and president of Lending for Living. Picking up where we left off with candidate for Congress, District 10, Eugene Rubio Kilbride. We're going to talk some more about that Rubio part, because you said something, Eugene, when I first met you that I went, what? You say moderate Republican. And I'm all for the, I mean, I'm Portuguese. Everybody who knows me for any second knows that. And you're, have some Hispanic, you're kind of all over though with your mix. You got all over the place. You're all over the place.
I am. I think I am the melting pot that is America. So, my dad is Irish ethnicity, a little bit of German, and then on my mom's side, Spanish, Mexico. And so, I wanted to honor that heritage. There is a large Hispanic population in District 10 as well that, they're waking up to the Republican Party. They're realizing that, rampant illegal immigration, inflation, everything that comes along with the bad policies of the Democratic Party are starting to affect them as well. And, it's one of those issues that I think also aligns more with, Hispanics in the Valley. Most of them are raised Catholic. Most of them have conservative values in their home. And they've just been told that this is the right way to vote. And they're not using their own critical thought process to really evaluate and analyze how those policies are affecting their daily life. If you look at the gas prices, you look at the price of milk, look at the price of beef. I hadn't had a steak in 6 months because the way things are right now, that's affecting everyone in the Valley. It's not affecting Harder. It's not affecting, Pelosi, because they're well off. Inflation is affecting the economy, and it's affecting everyone, especially the Central Valley.
And what most people don't realize is we're going to wish we had the inflation of the 70s because it's so bad right now. We're at like 9% inflation that came out this week. That's like higher than 82. And what a lot of people didn't realize, I've been saying this, this whole year, Marlene, or whatever, that we're going to hit inflation. Yep. We're going to see 1970s again. It was the race of 68 into now the politician. And the worst part was Carter at the time said, inflation's good. You want it. And that's why Dan Aykroyd did all these skits on, like, when they could do skits against the Democratic president, or would do them, about how what he said. And it was so amazing. Now you go fast forward, it's identical. They're saying the same thing. Inflation is the worst thing we can have. It is going to get so bad, but how else are they going to control things?
And that's the issue is they made terrible plays on the pandemic. You can't lock down the economy, and then you can't flood the economy with paper, because that is a recipe for disaster, for inflation. And that's what we're seeing right now. And I don't see a quick fix. I don't see anything in the near future besides deregulation that's going to stop this. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take the right moves. And from what I've seen, the way Josh Harder's been voting, along with the Democratic Party, they're voting all the wrong moves. Anything, what could go wrong has gone wrong with the Biden administration and the Democratic Party. So they're living Murphy's Law. Yeah,
and they should have done nothing. They would have been heroes.
That's all he had to do. All he had to do was play by Trump's playbook, and we would have been in a better off position than we are now.
And unfortunately, the last election was you either for Trump or against Trump. They didn't care who they were picking as long as it wasn't Trump. And that's not how you do elections. You do what's best for the whole country. Unfortunately, right now, a lot of places are doing what's best for the 1/3, not the 2/3. Go ahead, Marlene.
We're talking to Eugene Rubio Kilbride, congressional candidate for District 10. You can reach out and support Eugene, but it's not real easy right now. Actually, if you Google him, you'll
Yeah.
come up with him. Eugene Rubio Kilbride. His website is Kilbride for Congress, but it's it's polyengine.com. So just put Eugene Kilbride for Congress. It'll come up. And you can reach out to Ed at 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915, or lendingforliving.com, or email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. So we're going to run out of time, and I don't want to. What's your top 3 things, Eugene? Because you're a solid on it. You're talking a lot of different things that we all agree on, as far as, most of us with conservative. You've said moderate. You call yourself a moderate Republican, but you're not moderate as far as what the left says. What you are is common sense. What you are is willing to listen, right?
Exactly. Common sense policies with common sense solutions.
And what's your top 3 issues?
So my top 3 issues are the economy, and inflation's entangled with that, crime, and rampant illegal immigration. Those are the issues that we are facing nationwide, and as well as within Congressional District 10.
Right. Well, they're saying that stuff's all down because the arrest rate is down, and then the actual in prison's down, right? Well, that's because they don't arrest them and they don't put them in jail in the prison, because they get out right away. It's like we had a book that says Mark Twain said there's lies, damn lies, and then statistics. And basically what they're doing is they're using the numbers they want to use to be able to say what they want to say. And that's really sad out there. And that's messing with our country. And I'm tired of that. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If you're doing what's best for the country, that's the most important thing. And that's what I want in office.
And that's the truth. And I take issues as they come. I weigh them. I do the analysis, and then I would put forward legislation that would be best for the country as well as the district. So let's take crime, for example. Crime is one of these issues where, we're almost violating the social contract. If you look at Rousseau, Hobbes, and John Locke, who are saying we enter this social contract to give up our rights of retaliation, to give up our right to have a just and civil society. Well, if nobody's being prosecuted, if things are, basically the state of nature, chaos, then what is government for at that point in time? And so we need to start prosecuting, and we need to have respect for our police forces. The reason why crime is going up is because it's not being prosecuted. Even if the police arrest someone, they take them to court, the district attorney is not prosecuting them. You can see that in San Francisco, you can see that in Los Angeles, you can see it in New York, all the major cities, but it's coming our way. It's coming to District 10 as well. We all can look outside and see how things are. We can all see crime is rising. And if the criminals are benefiting and not paying the punishment, then why are we all playing by the rules? Why are we all playing by the social contract that we all abide by? That's something that we all enter into and that we need to bring back. We can't live in chaos. We can't live in anarchy. And that's what the Marxist playbook is. That's what the left is slowly trying to do. They're trying to erode the fabric of American society. And that's nothing, that's nobody's going to agree to that. But they're testing slowly the bounds of what they can get away with. And you're seeing that in San Francisco. You're seeing it in Stockton. And it's really starting to trickle down and affect District 10 as well. So as your congressional representative, we would need to have federal oversight, federal laws. That's the wonderful thing about the Supremacy Clause. California can have these experiments, but they still must abide by the federal government, the Supremacy Clause. And that's where you need to pick your representative carefully, because that's where we can have power, is at the federal level. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to represent you at the federal level, to have some kind of pushback to the chaos that we're seeing every day on the streets.
They need to get rid of that $950 thing. That's ridiculous.
That was the worst decision that we've ever made.
Yeah. No, we didn't make it.
I watched that.
We didn't make it. It was the Democratic Party of California, which is the Communist Party. Wasn't there a Democrat just the other day who helped celebrate the Communist Party's birth date?
Oh, I'm sure.
Nope.
I'm sure.
No,
they
I
are.
can't think of his name. I took a picture of it because it was on Fox, one of the news stations. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That is like the worst thing you can do. And I'm sorry, I'm getting off subject, but that's, come on, let's get back to being Americans. America. Sorry.
I agree. I agree.
What's most important is being patriotic and about, being here for us, not for people's agenda. I'm getting tired of people going into Congress, going in all that stuff, poor and coming out rich. That's what I'm tired of. Pelosi and their people, she's worth $650 million now because of all the stuff she did through while she's in for the last so many years. We need term limits for everybody.
And what's their salary? Why
It's
don't
like
people do simple math? Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's 176,000, and then how does that come down to 100 million?
Yes.
You're
they get
beholden.
special stock options that only founders get of certain companies if they're going to vote a certain way for that company. That's how that works.
Exactly. And how do you think Harder was put in this district? Who was he backed by? It's the DNC, it's Pelosi, it's Schumer. So who is he beholden to when he's making these decisions? If we look at his voting record, it's almost in step 100% with Pelosi. He's not going to bite the hand that feeds him. I'm just a guy. I'm just the person who's trying to represent the district for my family, for my community members, the way that I think it should be represented. Because right now it's not. We're getting taxation without representation. And that's completely against the American way.
And we can't have a tea party because of inflation. It's just too expensive now. There you go. Take us out, Marlene.
No. We've got a couple of minutes, Ed. Eugene, you said here's the thing. You are just a regular guy. And you served us, our country, and you went through all of that. But what I love about your story most is, man, you are an overcomer, and you are one educated cat, and you do get it. And you've been in Washington. I know that I can get that out of you when I'm interviewing, but I want our listeners to understand that about you. You are very savvy to DC because you've been there. You've been up there.
Yeah, I have. I worked for. I was living in DC for about 14 months and working for, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Board of Veterans Appeals, and I saw firsthand, the bureaucracy and the political process that takes place that disabled veterans have to go through. And to me, it's just unwarranted. It's, you say the wrong thing. You don't know anything about civil procedure or the wrong words that you put on this form, and they're going to deny you, not because you don't have the injury, but because maybe you didn't do one little step the right way. And it took 6 months, it took a year sitting on someone's desk and then moving to another pile before someone looked at it, and then moving to another pile before someone finally made the decision, when that could have been, rectified fairly quickly by a quick, either letter, email, phone call, whatever your form of communication is. But what I'm trying to get at is the bureaucratic process is broken. Veterans are dying, waiting on these disability ratings. And we need to streamline that process. We need to have more presumptive issues. For example, I remember working on some cases where it was blue water versus gray water if you were a Vietnam vet. And these guys are getting up in age now. And if you were in gray water, you had a presumption that you were exposed to Agent Orange. But if you were in blue water, slightly off the coast, there was no presumption. Now, that doesn't take into account that you were in the mouth of the river, your ship was, pumping up the water, you were drinking this water on your ship, you were showering in this water, as much exposure as one could possibly get in blue water. Now, common sense would say, yeah, this guy's probably exposed. But the government is not using common sense. They're using these, bureaucratic processes where, sorry, you don't meet this criteria, we're going to deny you. And, the veteran clearly has Agent Orange. They're up in age. And by the time they change these rules, 70 or 80% of that classification of veterans is dead. And to me, it's that whole process that's just unfair. It's too slow, and it doesn't do our veterans who serve this country justice.
And I have a personal experience with that. My dad died when I was 12 of hairy cell leukemia from Agent Orange. And at that time it was, oh, that was not from that. They fought it for years. They waited until they all died. And the problem with Agent Orange is either it kills you or it doesn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't affect you at all, or it majorly affects you. And that's the problem. Our government waited long enough so they didn't have to deal with things.
And that's what I saw firsthand. And it's a shame. It's a shame that our own government, that our men and women are fighting for, is trying to escape their responsibility and their duty to the veterans.
And that's why I think it's important to have veterans in Congress and in Senate and everywhere because you will be the last one to put other people's children into war, because you've been to war. You've seen it firsthand. You've been there, where a lot of these politicians have no idea what that means, and they don't understand what the word sacrifice means.
And that is the truth. I served with many men who did not come back, and what are we going to tell their parents, their wives, their children of why we went over there? And when I was in Iraq, Baghdad, I saw things firsthand. I saw a lot of things that I didn't agree with. I saw things that could have been handled better. And you're right, it's that military industrial complex making these wrong and decisions based either on finance or whatever it may be, that you need people who have been there firsthand to make those decisions, and that's what I'm here for. On that subject, I just want to say how shameful it was for the Biden administration to pull out of Afghanistan the way they did. The blood and treasure that was lost in that country. It's a shame. It's a shame and a scar that will be on our nation's heart for generations to come.
Yeah. Yep. That was the worst. They had no idea what they were doing at all.
And now Afghanistan has more Black Hawk helicopters in Australia. And where do you think those are going to go? Russia, China.
They have all our technology. They know how to defeat it. They know how to mess with it.
You'll never convince me that was an intentional. Never. You will never convince me that was not intentional. And whoever the frick is got their pockets lined, man, there's a special place in hell for y'all.
I mean, at best, it was negligence. It was extreme. It was at best it was negligence. At worst, it was intentional. And there needs to be oversight. There needs to be oversight. There needs to be an investigation, just like there's an investigation anytime any opposition group to the Democratic Party commits any kind of issue. There's a full-on investigation. Why isn't there not an investigation to the way we pulled out of Afghanistan? We lost 13 Marines and Navy corpsmen. I mean, and we don't talk about that anymore. It's just forgotten. That's the price that we paid.
You know what? We're going to have you come back.
Well, he's going to be on Tuesday too. Don't forget next week.
Yeah, that's right.
11 a.m. our live, Tuesday, and then you can have more questions. Yep. Yeah. My only last statement, we have to go, but my statement to that is, there was 600,000 weapons left, right, and all that kind of stuff. And then people are worried about in California, they pass these stupid laws that I can't have a certain gun, but they just gave the Taliban more weapons than they've ever had in their life. And those things are going to come everywhere. It was the stupidest thing they ever did.
Oh, yeah.
But the generators put out too much emission. You can't buy a generator anymore after next year.
We got to move on.
And along those lines, we have very porous borders as well. So we have people coming from all over the world. It's not just Latin America or Mexico. No. We've got, all over the world. So if someone from India can come in without being unchecked, why can't someone from Afghanistan come in without being unchecked? That's part of these terror cell groups. I mean, they're already here. Exactly. They're all over the place. Exactly.
Oh, too much to talk about today.
Yeah. Thanks, Eugene, so much for joining us today. And I would ask you if there's anything else, but I can't because we're out of time. So I'll ask all of our audience to please tune in, if you can, to Facebook on Tuesdays, 11 o'clock, Tuesday and Thursday. Ed does Real Estate Jerky live. You can question. It's awesome. It's slick. I know it's kind of an odd time, but that's 11 to 12. We'll be on. You can ask him this coming Tuesday. The best part of hanging out with Ed, besides helping the people that I love, and he's helped a lot of them get into homes, is meeting all these great people like Eugene who are willing to hang it all out there and change the world, our world, for the better. So if you liked what you heard today, please do reach out to Eugene Rubio Kilbride for Congress, District 10. I'm Marlene Champlin, trusty sidekick to our amazing host, Ed Parcaut, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living. If you got questions for Ed, you know how to reach out. Just his phone. He'll answer 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915. You're listening to Power Talk 1360 KFIV. This is Real Estate Jerky, where we always give you something to chew on. We'll be right back.